Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. I have another how to win on DraftKings video for you. These are going to be 5 tips that you need to start doing in your weekly approach to daily fantasy NFL to help make you more profitable on DraftKings, more profitable on FanDuel. Everybody wants to be that, right? But we all have holes in our game. So it's all about fixing those leaks. And if you have not checked out this video up here, the don't do these things, stop doing these things on DraftKings video, go check that one out in combination with this video. Here's 5 things that you should be doing to put you in a better chance to be more profitable in daily fantasy moving forward. So let's go.
He's a legend.
So what are the ways that you can go about doing it? First tip that I think that you need to take into consideration is identify who you are as a player. That is extremely important. You need to define to yourself and be honest. What are your goals when you're playing daily fantasy? It's totally fine if your approach is, look, I just want to play for fun. I want to play 1 or 2 lineups. I want to put those lineups in a tournament with a ton of money up top. You know, I want to play the Millionaire Maker, and I know that it's got really high rake, and I know that I have very little chance to win, but like it helps me feel better about myself when it comes to watching the games all day. I have something on the line, I have a bit of a sweat, and I'm not really trying to be anything more than like, you go to the movies and you pay 15 bucks for a movie ticket and then $30 for popcorn and $17 for a drink. Then you take out a second mortgage on your home to get some jujubes, and there you are at the movies with zero possible return on that money, but it's your entertainment budget. If that's who you are, that's totally fine. Are you in it for just challenge and competition, and you wanted to try and play against your friends, and you're playing in, you know, your home league that you guys draft against, your friends and family league, and you guys all put together with your college roommates or whatever, you play like a 20-man league every single week, and that's how you play? Fine. Or are you a serious player who is trying to grind a larger bankroll over time by making the best decisions that you can? Any way that you play is fine. DraftKings at its heart is fun. Daily fantasy at its heart is fun, but you need to be honest with yourself about what you're trying to do. And if you're trying to be a serious player, and if you're trying to be a winning player, a profitable player over time, something that I've been for over a decade at this point in this game, you have to kind of step back and really take note of the things that you have to do to be that better player. Bankroll tracking being one of them, game selection being another one. Understanding what you're entering and why you're entering it, putting the right types of lineups in different types of games. All those things are super important, and it makes you have to be cognizant of the decisions that you're making in order to be that. Because like once you decide I'm going to be a smart player, you can't be that entertainment guy anymore. Yeah, you're going to get entertainment from it, but the smart player, the bankroll growing player, the grinder is making different decisions at multiple levels of this game. Starting at like contest selection, moving to lineup selection, correlation, everything else that they're doing is different than the player that's just playing for education. So define your roles and stick to them. Rule number 2, trust your instincts. There's a way to go about it, right? We talk about being contrarian without being stupid. This is something that you really have to be mindful of, right? So like if you're going to play daily fantasy and you want to differentiate when it comes to daily fantasy NFL, the best time of the year to do that is the first 4 weeks of an NFL season. We all put in a lot of work during the offseason. We all try to, anybody that's studying for their fantasy league or anybody that's doing content like I do or writing or doing video or podcasts, we put in a lot of research and a lot of time over the summer to try and best predict the future with as much accuracy as we possibly can. But nobody's going to be 100% accurate. We try to be 56% plus to so at least we can beat the rake, right? That's the break-even point if you're playing at 10% rake. But everything that we believe we know about these teams doesn't always materialize, right? Like in the past, Derrick Henry was a player that did not get used in the passing game. But then at the beginning of last season, they were giving him ample usage in the passing game. It wasn't like Christian McCaffrey usage. It wasn't Najee Harris usage. It wasn't like that, but like he was a different player last year than he was before. Another player that really went about this way a few years ago with DeMarco Murray, when he was the running back on the Dallas Cowboys, we thought we knew who the Cowboys were. They were a terrible defense. They were what they were. and that team was going to get rolled, and we thought they were going to have to throw the ball all the time, and Tony Romo was the quarterback, and everybody was on the passing game, and nobody wanted to play DeMarco Murray the first 4 weeks of the season. But as much as we think we know about these teams in the first month, we really don't have any idea. Those Cowboys teams decided, look, we have to keep our defense off the field because they're 11 trash bags right now. So maybe if we just try and run the hell out of the ball and bleed the clock and play super slow and limit our opponent's opportunities, they won't score as much. That led to DeMarco Murray being like the #1 contrarian play for the first 3 weeks of the season, when nobody really thought that that was going to be the case. So if you had conviction that DeMarco Murray was going to be the guy that you wanted to hang your hat on early in the year, you're like, look, they have to run the ball. They have a fantastic offensive line. And I think he's going to get 20 plus touches with usage in the passing game and inside the 5 carries. That's what you wanted to do. Now, who that is right now on this list on DraftKings before the 2022 football season, we don't really know yet. We think we have ideas about who most of these players are, and along the lines of that, like, a lot of it's going to be right, but some guys are going to slip through the cracks. Some situations are going to slip through the cracks. We don't know every game plan for every team. We kind of feel like we know who's going to get target market shares on each team and where the targets are going to go, but every year there's somebody that jumps out of the woodwork and gets more usage than we thought they were. In 2021, it was Hunter Renfrow. He was being picked at the back end of drafts. Nobody wanted to draft him. There's no upside. And all of a sudden, he logged a metric ton of targets. We had 2 years of data on Cooper Kupp that said he's going to get you about 90 catches. And then last year, he got 192 targets. Everybody felt that Brandon Ayuk was going to lead the San Francisco 49ers in terms of targets and catches, and he was going to be a massive breakout player. And Deebo Samuel was just a secondary guy, and it flipped because of reasons we did not know. So if you have conviction, the best time to flex on that conviction is the first 4 weeks of an NFL season. So don't be afraid to go with what you think, even if it's not what the group think tends to be. No matter what bankroll size you're at, rule number 3, make sure that you're entering some portion of your weekly spend in smaller field contests, leagues, or smaller field GPPs that have limited entries. Much easier to find your way to the top of the payout chart if you are competing against less runners than competing against these massive large fields. Work in some smaller field games into your play. Taking a look at the DraftKings lobby, obviously, they've got 28,000 runners in the $100 contest. This one is a massive buy-in, so it's got a smaller field. $5 buy-in, there's like 11 trillion players in the $5 Millionaire Maker. If we sort by entries, 39,000, 29,000, you got to come in like the top 10 to really see any massive multiplier on your entry fee when it comes to most of these GPP type contests, not the massive double ups. If you're going to play the massive double ups, probably stick to the single entry. That's your easiest path to to profitability. But like, I'm talking about these. If you sort by 100 to 100, if you sort by 20 to 100, there's plenty of these games in the lobby. Some of them are 50-50s. I'm talking about the ones that have kind of a GPP type scoring. So like a 5-man or a $5 100-player draft, $67 up top, no multi-entry. These are single entry. I know that FanDuel has them as well, and they're like 3 max to enter. It pays like the top 12 or top 15 players. It's a good way to get a little bit of GPP action. You can build what's called a leagues lineup. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, where you basically have a cash game shell, a cash game type of build, but you add correlation into it to separate from just a high floor, possible high ceiling lineup. You're more interested in, I want to capture all the upside from a game. So make sure that you're taking advantage of these 20 to 100 man games in tournaments that aren't winner take all, to give yourself a chance with your tournament lineups of cashing and seeing a profit on the week, just like we say to play cash games, especially if you're at the low end of the buy-in spectrum. $1, $2, $3, $5 head-to-head games are extremely exploitable and beatable. So make sure that you're trying to take advantage of those as well. Daily fantasy sports has become a projection-based game. So number 4, find or build yourself. If you are somebody who is really great at, aggregating data, putting together models and building spreadsheets, if you're that type of guy, if you can do all that for yourself and you feel good about statistical modeling, build your own projection spreadsheet. Or there's plenty of really great projections that are out there on all the sites, many of whom we're partnered with on this channel. Fantasy Labs, EstablishTheRun.com, Daily Rotogrinders. You can get discounts if you're a new member to any of those. It's right down below. If you click show more on the description, you can find the site that you get in with. I like Fantasy Labs because I can upload my own projections. I can aggregate projections from multiple sites, and it allows you to put your own projections or any projections that you've downloaded into their lineup builder and into their model. You got to learn how to utilize it, right? And when I say you got to learn how to utilize it, I don't mean sort by projected score or sort by points per dollar or sort by the rating and say, well, this is the best play this week. You really have to learn how to read the spreadsheet and find a set that you really jive with, that you really vibe with, and go with that sort of projection, because they're all pretty much built similarly. You're going to find differences. Certain players are going to, or certain builders, people that make their projection set, are going to have different inputs that they look at. Most are built towards median projections. Something that you need to learn how to differentiate between is how you're building cash game lineups with those projections or building tournament lineups with those projections, and really learning how to understand how to use it specifically with the projected ownership that's going to come out for the weekend on each site. It's not just about sort by, well, this is the highest projected lineup on median, and that's really what I have to do. And now I'm going to print money, and it's very easy. Go to the site. Oh yeah, go to the optimizer, make 150 lineups. I'm going to be a millionaire. It does not work that way. I have plenty of other videos in the How to Win on DraftKings playlist on this channel if you want to check those out, on using a projection set, on building lineups, uploading lineups for Showdown, for Main Slate, any of that. Familiarize yourself. Take the time to understand them so that when the Sunday Main Slate comes, you understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you want to exploit the field using projections, knowing that everybody else is using them too. So how can you use these projection sets to kind of exploit people? Well, we talk about this on the 5 under 5 video every single Saturday during NFL season. Finding players that have a massive ceiling that are going to be, I focus on 5% and down, but even 10% and down is fine. Look for ways that people aren't doing things that maybe you want to do to find your way to the top, which leads me to the last part, the last rule on this video. Make sure that you understand the assignment. It's important. I'm tired. I'm so fatigued by some of these things. Now this one, look, number 5, I've got so many bullet points under number 5 that it's ridiculous, of all these things that I have to tell you about understanding the assignment and really what that means. 1, build lineups specifically for the tournament or the game that you are in. That is number 1, tantamount, key to everything that we're doing. So if we reset this to this, if you're building a Millionaire Maker lineup, you need to be focused on specific things. GPP tournament build specifically for large field. You need to be focused on things like correlation, right? We're not just picking the highest salary per dollar guys off of that Fantasy Labs projection sheet. We're looking to maximize upside. We are also looking to fade chalk in a smart way, or to leverage off chalk in a smart way. If everybody in the world is playing the tight end from one passing game, maybe you use the wide receiver who's going to come in at a much lower number in terms of percentage that weekend. If everybody's going to be on the running game and not playing the passing game, maybe you stack the passing game from that team. If everybody's going to be on Jonathan Taylor in one week, maybe instead of focusing your lineup for that tournament around Jonathan Taylor, knowing that he's going to come in at a much higher percentage, maybe you stack Matt Ryan and Pittman. And all of a sudden, when your thing goes off, and again, in a tournament, I'm not concerned with failure. When you're building a tournament lineup, you are concerned with the best possible outcome for what you are trying to build. So if everybody is trying to jump on the Jonathan Taylor train, and you say, look, I think he's going to have a good game, maybe he has 110 yards, but no touchdowns, which would mean failure for all those Jonathan Taylor players, and Matt Ryan's going to have 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, and 2 of them to Michael Pittman, not only do all those Jonathan Taylor lineups sink, your lineup, which is going to be way more unique, is going to thrive and rocket up the GPP sheet. Cash games would be another thing that we need to focus on. When you're playing cash games, don't fade players. The philosophy that, well, everybody's on this guy, just mentioned Jonathan Taylor, so I might as well use him for this argument. I don't care which week you're talking about. There's going to be a lot of weeks where Jonathan Taylor is going to be one of the most popular plays in cash game lineups. Just because he is the most popular play, if you're playing cash games, does not mean you should fade him. Well, 60% of the people in this double up are going to be on him, so I clearly can't play Jonathan Taylor. Of course you can. If Jonathan Taylor, if 60 or 70% of people in a cash game are on Jonathan Taylor and Jonathan Taylor fails, you don't lose anything. You don't. You'll find somewhere else to beat him. And the people that don't play that chalk player, when the chalk player goes off, they fall way behind. This is also why I tell people to play a multitude of different opponents, because the more games that you play, like the $1 head-to-heads, if you play 20 $1 head-to-heads against different opponents versus playing one $20 head-to-head, if you have a 90th percentile lineup and you played the more head-to-heads you play, you will get closer to actualizing that number and win 90% of those head-to-heads, giving you a very profitable week. But if you post a 90 percentile lineup playing one head-to-head game and the other guy, you come up against the guy who posted a 95 percentile lineup, you lose 100% of the money you've allocated towards head-to-head game. So understand where we're going. Understand the assignment. Don't fade popular chalk. Optimize for cash game play versus as many opponents as you can to spread variance. Just like I said, cash games is where you do want to try and maximize the players that you're going to look at in terms of points per dollar, getting cheaper defenses, finding the best plays in terms of points per dollar, where you can get a massive amount of points that also have a ceiling. Remember, we're sorting points per dollar is sorted by median projection, right? In terms of that entire bell curve, you also want them to have access to a ceiling. So a player like Hurst, who's got, well, he's got a really high points per salary here on this sheet right now, but like his ceiling's not that great. You kind of want to have players that have that touchdown to 2 touchdown ceiling built into their projection as well. Even if they have, you want a high floor, high ceiling combo, not just high floor, low ceiling combo. And then the leagues lineups. I get asked this question a lot, so I did want to say it because I always talk about GPP builds and cash game builds. So if you're building a leagues lineup, the lineup we talked about against your friends, you play a 20-man league with all the people at work or all your buddies from college or your softball team or whatever. If all the money is up top, you want to play it a little bit more like a GPP. If it pays out the top 50%, I don't need to be faster than the bear. I just got to be faster than you. If you only have to beat 50% of the crowd, build a lineup that has a really high floor that does not take very many risks. If you have 20 people in a game and it only pays the top 3 or 4, yeah, finishing in the 60th percentile does you no good. You win $0. So you're going to have to take a few more chances. For those leagues lineups specifically, start with like a cash game build and a cash game shell. Add in a little bit more correlation, maybe a stack of a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a bring back player, or a quarterback stack, and then off of one of your other players, build a secondary stack with a player from that unrelated game to the quarterback. It's really that simple, guys. These are small tweaks that you can make to your daily fantasy game to make you a bigger winner in 2022. Hope you liked the video. If you did, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure that you ring that notifications bell. Look out for another one right there.
He's a legend.